Hey, what's up, everyone? This is video number 9 of White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. I am reading about 30 minutes worth of White Fragility and then making videos on it. This is the 9th one. I'm hoping to read this twice. We'll see how that works out. So, my notes for today has a lot to do with actual White Fragility. White fragility, when there is a small amount of racial stress in the habitus, it becomes intolerable. And habitus from yesterday is a person's internalized awareness of their status, as well as responses to the status of others. So even a little bit of basically challenge to your position or authority by people of color will become intolerable to white people, which is thus a part of white fragility. Don't rationalize away complaints by saying people are oversensitive or complaining about PC culture. So when someone comes up to you and says, hey, what you said was inappropriate, you need to listen. That was a huge part of this section, is need to listen to what people say to us and not react in defensiveness. Your default should always be that you are lacking knowledge in some way. As soon as you start believing that you're not lacking knowledge, you are in trouble. White fragility will try to restore the status quo. We must see ourselves in racial terms without getting defensive. So 55% of whites think they got discriminated for being white. White people's moral objection to racism increases their resistance to acknowledging their complicity with it. So the more moral objection to racism, the more resistance there will be towards acknowledging their part in it. So, put that even more simply, the more we think racism is bad, the more the less likely we are to acknowledge doing it. Whites invoke the power to choose when, how, and to what extent racism is addressed or challenged. There's a lot of examples of white people being accused of saying something inappropriate, and they in turn focus the entire attention on themselves by doing a variety of things. One of them is like breaking down and crying. One's getting mad, like throwing a tantrum, and totally taking the focus off of the person in the first place that was wronged. Pointing out white advantage will often trigger patterns of confusion, defensiveness, and righteous indignation from white people. Many whites misinterpret what they see as white discrimination when it is really a challenge to their position or an expectation that they listen to the perspectives and experiences of people of color. So a lot of white people misinterpret white discrimination when they're challenged, basically. When difficult conversations are brought up, they believe that's a form of white discrimination. White people's incoherent talk about race is an unprepared or unwillingness to learn. So, I made a typo. Where's my pen? Oh, there it is. So, we don't have a willingness to learn about race and racism and our white fragility, and so we're unprepared to talk about it. And a lot of times, because of that, we'll fall back on defensiveness. Reluctance to talk about race maintains the cultural dominance of white people. White fragility functions as a form of bullying whites make it so uncomfortable in order to stop talking about race. It would be revolutionary. This is what a black guy said to one of the leaders of the class that was about racism. He said it would be revolutionary to receive, for white people, to receive, reflect, and work to change their behavior. If whites would just accept their white fragility. Basically, when someone says something to you about you possibly being racist, receive that information, reflect on that information, and work to change that behavior. And lastly, white people are receptive to racist communication, not racist communication, but talking about racism, learning about racism, as long as the things are abstract. As soon as they start talking about specifics, and especially if they point out things that you're doing wrong, then white fragility takes hold, and basically the whole conversation just totally breaks down after that. Alright, so that was video number 9. I just put up 4 for 9. Tomorrow we're going to do video 10. I am currently on page 117. I believe it's in the audio book. I'm on part 5, so I'm going to finish part 5, and then I'll only have part 6 after that. Alright, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.